Mr. Kalyani, if I could come back to you, sir, and talk about the road ahead as far as acquisition is concerned. And, I would imagine that we are likely to see another improvement over the previous year's budget. We did see a significant improvement this time around as well on the defense budget, including the acquisition budget. But, the focus and priority, you talked about this having been a tech-enabled conflict. The focus on drones, for instance, the focus on AI-guided loitering munition, for instance. What would you now like to see being prioritized, both from a development perspective as well as an acquisition perspective, sir?
Well, if you closely look at India's response in this conflict, it was a response which was, all the three services put together along with ISRO and other agencies working together as an integrated response. That's where technology comes into play. So if you look at UAVs are going to be a major part of any battle scenario anywhere in the world. If you look at the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine is making something like 1 million UAVs per year. There are hundreds of companies in Ukraine making UAVs. India has more than 500 companies who make UAVs. So I think we have come of age in this area. What is very important is we are able to do precision strikes. And for precision strikes, you need, the satellite surveillance, you need multiple agencies working together, making these things happen. And I think that was very ably demonstrated in those 23 minutes, as you said, what happened. So I think we have the capabilities. We just need to keep enlarging it, because you can imagine conflicts like the Ukraine-Russia conflict. This is going on for 3 years. Now, we had a conflict that went on for less than half an hour. So if we have a longer conflict, then we need to be far better prepared. But I think we are all there with the policies that the Honorable Prime Minister put into place for the last, let's say, 10 years in the area of defense, and all enabled by our Honorable Defense Minister and the whole user industry collaborative effort that is going on between industry, DRDO, and the users, that is the services. We are all moving forward at a very rapid pace. There are a lot of things that you don't see that are happening in industry. But I can tell you and assure you that we are moving forward at extremely rapid pace. And this is not only good for our defense, but is also good for our overall economic and industrial development.
Why don't you give us a sense of what is happening behind the scenes within the private sector in the defense space, Mr. Kalyani? What exactly is moving forward?
I'll give you, for example, I can't give you specifics, but I'll give you an example. In the artillery sector where we are involved, we have weapons which are far more advanced than anywhere in the world today. That's one. Second, if you look at in armored vehicles, whether tracked, wheeled, India is moving ahead with new equipment designed by DRDO, but produced by Indian industry, and with much higher technical capabilities than what we have today. And all this is with integration with AI, digital, and everything else that's there anywhere in the world. So I think we are pretty much moving ahead. In terms of electronic warfare, I think whether it's anti-drone warfare, whether it's jammers, whether it's, those kind of things, we are moving ahead pretty fast. There are many companies working in this area. In terms of software-defined radios, again, that's an area where we are moving very rapidly in terms of technology. So every area you are moving in technology up ahead. And the good thing is all this is converging in every equipment that you make. So it's not that in like the old days, you have an artillery gun sitting and firing at the Kargil hill. Now it's all integrated. It is autonomous. It can be controlled without any man being there, and controlled by using data from satellites and everything else. So I think things have gone in the last 5-7 years way ahead, and they're going to go even faster.
Absolutely. We are seeing that already in play. But Sanjiv Puri, if I may bring you and Mr. Mukundan into what we are seeing outside of course, what's happening on the battlefront. In the midst of this, we are seeing this global reset, where if I could loosely say trust is being replaced by trade. I mean, here you have a situation where President Trump is now even talking about a possible deal with Iran while he's touring the Middle East. So, Sanjiv Puri, as we look at the world today, how India is best placed to navigate on the trade front in a world which is in a geopolitical flux?
So this is a very important facet that you have brought in, Shereen. That I think that first of all, India is very well placed because of the strengths, inherent strengths that India has got. India has got the capacity to produce at scale economically of world-class quality. India has the talent, and India is also a services powerhouse, a powerhouse of some of these frontier digital technologies also. So India, from its own competitiveness perspective, is well placed. Now we have seen several policy reforms over a period of time. Several of them have happened that make India a competitive destination. There are several successful examples. I think the world is also looking for supply chain resilience, which becomes even more important in a world where there is, when there are these trade fragmentations and also, the certain geopolitical shifts happening. This becomes very important, and scale can only come from India in many of these areas. So that's, having said that, I think the way to go is what is being done is we need to stitch our own bilateral trade deals in alignment with national interests. And as we do economic integration, I think we have to be cognizant of countries that are also working against our interest. And we have to, certainly CII would encourage its members to move away from them, to reassess. There are countries that supported Pakistan in this conflict. And of course, with one of them, we do have a material amount of trade. And I think it's not in India's interest to, not in national interest for us to pursue that. We should be reassessing what are alternatives that we have got.
Are you suggesting, Sanjiv Puri, that India break trade relationships with Turkey, with Azerbaijan? Azerbaijan, of course, is too small. Even Turkey, in the larger scheme of things, is about $10 billion. But are you suggesting that we break, trade ties with Turkey?
Look, before the conflict happened, we had a trade of about 40 million with Pakistan, or something of that order, right? It was small. So all I would say right now is that we must reassess, and we must definitely look at alternatives. We should certainly reduce, or if possible, eliminate economic integration with such countries. Why should I? I mean, it goes without saying, why should you be creating economic activity for places that are working against national interest? The national interest must come first and foremost. And I'm very happy to see, a lot of Indian consumers in this true spirit of nation first are kind of canceling their the tourism or the holidays, vacation they wanted to take in some of these countries. That's, I think, absolutely the right thing to do. Why should we be creating economic activity for countries that will work against our interests? That's the principle. India's self-interest is the first. And therefore, very strong reassessment and as much as possible, realignment, I think, is something that I would encourage everybody to think about. And coming back to what the question that you raised, I think fundamentally in this whole, the very hyper-dynamic, evolving trade scenarios, I think the way to go is to, one, focus on domestic drivers of growth, which the government is very well doing and has done over several years. And the advantage is India is a very consumption-driven economy. The second pillar we need to strengthen is our integration with global value chains. Exports is just 12% of GDP. How do we take that number up? And towards that, I think the bilateral trade agreements that India is pursuing, that's the right way to go. I think that's the way to have one-to-one arrangements with countries where there are synergies and where there are mutual benefits. That's the way we should be pursuing those. And I think some of the ones that
Mr.
are in the
Mukundan,
pipeline now are the ones that will create immense value for the economy.
We spoke the day that the UK agreement was done, the India-UK agreement was done. Mr. Mukundan, talking about bilateral agreements, let's talk about the US. We just had Donald Trump once again reiterate that, in fact, telling Tim Cook that he doesn't want Apple to build more in India. Also suggesting that, look, if you're building in India for India, that's fine, but anything beyond that may not pass muster. Now, that's his point of view. Whether Apple agrees or not is a different story altogether. But what do you take away from that messaging? Also, do you believe that a zero-for-zero tariff policy is the right approach? Again, Trump suggesting that India has offered zero tariffs. He said quite literally, they've said that there will be no tariffs. The Indian government so far maintaining that it's too premature to comment on any deal contours. Do you believe that a zero tariff policy is appropriate?
Firstly, Shereen, I think this is a world of trade partnership, as you mentioned. And I think we've already signed up with UK and FTA, and I think we are looking to sign FTA with the European Union, and I think also some kind of a deal with the US. So I think when we talk about free trade, I think there is going to be some give and take. And if that leads to zero tariff on some tariff lines, I think that is the way the world is going to shape. But that is the opportunity for India. India's opportunity is to be not just the service center of the world, but also the factory of the world, but also the manufacturing center of the world. And all the decks are stacked in India's favor. We have the talent. We don't have an aging population. We have workforce which is actually very productive. And we now have improving infrastructure. You look at it from all perspectives. I think everything is going for us. And really, the basic message which we must be pushing forward in the world stage is India is open for business. And effectively, we are looking for partnerships with like-minded countries. And really, what we want is a progress through peace and progress through partnership. That is really what we want. Even this skirmish which we had with our neighbor was a fight against terrorism. It was not a fight with the neighbor. And I think as long as there are principles on which we stand, I think we should then work with countries, like-minded countries. And I think we would certainly welcome a move from government to enhance our trade competitiveness through networks and supply chain, which we want to build. And it's all going to augur well for us.
The message there from industry is very clear. The answer, the antidote to uncertainty is a strong, resilient domestic economy. And that needs to continue to be the focus of the government and, of course, of the private sector. Once again, a sharp focus on what is happening with our defense industry. The fact that the military prowess of the country has been tested and we have delivered successfully. That needs to be built on, and a more robust private-public sector partnership in each of these areas. Sanjiv, Puri, Kalyani, Mukundan, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18 to take stock of where we find ourselves post-Operation Sindoor and what it means for our economy and, more importantly, what it means in terms of the coming of age of India's defense industry. We'll take a break. A lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.